What's up, guys? It's already week 9 in the NFL season. Last week, we went 4-0 on player props. We'll get to that at the end. Let's not waste any time because I have 4 more player props that I like for this week's NFL games. Let's get right into it. Indianapolis Colts take on the Carolina Panthers. I am looking at Mr. Resurgence, Mr. Adam Thielen. Over under is set at 66.5, minus 114 both ways. He has cleared this total with ease in 5 straight games. Now he's getting the Colts' 25th ranked pass defense, allowing the 6th most yards to opposing wide receivers. Adam Thielen's 2023 resurgence. Let me say it again, resurgence. This man is on the come up again and has shown no signs of stopping, even with the new play caller last week. Carolina knows that Adam Thielen is their best offensive weapon, running a route on 100% of Bryce Young's dropbacks. The volume is there. He's averaging 10 targets per game, good for 11th in the NFL. And with that volume has been easy plays. Thielen enters this plus matchup against Indianapolis with an 87% catchable target rate on the season. That's good for 4th in the NFL. Bryce Young is looking his way constantly, and with Thielen averaging 10 yards per catch, 7 receptions should get his total over. Luckily, he's had 7 or more catches every single week since week 2. Matter of fact, if we take out week 1, when Carolina was seemingly unaware that they could use Adam Thielen like a legitimate wide receiver 1, Adam Thielen's averaging 9.1 receptions per game. I'm very comfortable with taking the over on yards here, over 66.5. We're going to move right on to our next game. I'm looking to attack that Bears pass defense, specifically their pass defense versus running backs. So you already know I'm looking at Alvin Kamara. He's looked great this season since returning from suspension, seeing well over 20 touches per game. And we've seen that he's heavily involved in that Saints pass offense. Derek Carr has been very willing to check it down to a stud running back. He's averaging 8.8 targets per game, 7.8 receptions per game. I'm seeing his receiving total set at 31.5. That's a total that he's cleared in all but one game this season. And now he gets a juicy matchup against this Bears defense that's giving up the most receiving yards to running backs per game. They were giving up the most receiving yards to running backs per game even before last week when they gave up 94 yards to Eckler. Because of that stat, I went on the over on Eckler's receiving yards, and I'm pretty sure that hit in the first quarter. We can expect Alvin Kamara to be used the same way that Eckler was being used last week. Same way that Kamara's been getting used all season, short passes being an extension of the run game. He's been pretty efficient on both sides. But the Chicago Bears do have the 3rd ranked rush defense. So while it's hard to run the ball against them, it is damn easy to throw the ball to your running back against them. Their pass defense overall is ranked 30th, but they're giving up 497 yards to date to running backs, most in the NFL. 48 receptions puts them at 3rd most. They've been very generous to pass catching running backs, and I expect Alvin Kamara to take part in this advantage that they have and easily clear his total of 31.5. Give me the over, minus 115 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And we're going to move on to the last game that I want to look at, which is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, when I first saw this game, immediately I thought, A.J. Brown. The man has 5 straight games of 125 or more receiving yards. And I'm sure he goes over his total. It's set at 82.5. But Dallas's pass defense has been pretty damn good. So while I think he does go over, I'm not going to back it this week. I'm going to back what the stats tell me And I'm looking at two Dallas Cowboys wide receivers. First one being CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has been running routes on the outside the past 2 weeks. And in the past 2 weeks, he has had blow-up games versus the Chargers and the Rams. This has allowed Brandon Cooks to play more in the slot. And in the past 2 games, since he has been playing more in the slot, he's had his best 2 games since joining the Dallas Cowboys. Overall, this change has made Dallas's pass offense much more efficient, with Dak Prescott having 2 straight games of 270 or more passing yards and a 75% completion rating. And that was after a slow start to the season. Dallas seems to be getting on track offensively. Now they're facing the Eagles' 26th ranked pass defense. I'm liking the matchups for CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. In the past 2 weeks, CeeDee Lamb has 275 receiving yards on 19 receptions. The Eagles have been giving up a ton of yards to opposing wide receivers, and that's mostly due to teams either playing from behind, and the Eagles also have the top-ranked rush defense. So if you're going to do anything against them offensively, it's going to be through the air. Now, following 2 straight games of at least 7 catches and 117 yards, I believe the hot streak continues for CeeDee Lamb. Dallas is second in points per game. Philadelphia is third. Both are averaging 28 points per game. I expect a high-scoring affair. I expect the alpha wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys to keep it rolling and be heavily involved in a plus matchup. Give me the over on CeeDee Lamb, 73.5. And I expect Brandon Cooks to be involved as well. When I looked at it, it was 36.5 when I was getting ready for this video. It has moved to 37.5. I'm not going to let that 1 yard scare me. I expect Brandon Cooks to have a solid game versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Last week, Michael Gallup had his lowest snap total of the year. Brandon Cooks is the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense, and this pass offense is heating up. Far too many teams have had multiple wide receivers finding success against Philadelphia, including last week where Jamison Crowder didn't even know he was still playing, to be honest with you. Love that guy. Jamison Crowder and Jahan Dotson both cleared 95 yards in keeping up with Philadelphia. Brandon Cooks has cleared 36 yards in 2 straight games. I'm going to back him to get that extra 2 yards to go over 37.5. That's minus 115 on DraftKings. Currently, Brandon Cooks over under is not available on FanDuel, so I'd keep an eye on that. Maybe it comes in under 37.5. I'm going to take him to go over here on DraftKings Sportsbook. You can see the recent wide receiver stats. First, the Philadelphia Eagles. Guys have been having a pretty damn good time catching the ball against that Philadelphia defense. And those are my 4 picks for Week 9 in the NFL season. Real quick, we'll review last week in which we went 4-0 in the player prop picks. We had ETN going over his rushing, Ridley going over his receiving. Ridley was 50.5. ETN, I'm pretty sure, was 60.5. I have 50.5 written down. That seems low. Either way, they both went over. The matchups were all great. That's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for the great matchups. And the guys that are guaranteed to see touches. Now, Brandon Cooks, you're taking a little bit of a risk because he's only seeing, 4 targets per game. I'm expecting that to go up versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's a great matchup. That's what I looked at last week, 4-0. Also had A.J. Brown going over 88.5 receiving yards, as well as the 100-plus alt receiving line. Easily went over. Like I said, he's continued his hot streak. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues it this weekend, 82.5. It's actually lower than it was last week. That's because the Dallas Cowboys have a much better pass defense than Washington Commanders. I think he goes over. I'm not going to back it up with my money. I wouldn't suggest you do either. Maybe you could toss him in a lottery ticket parlay with like a bunch of stud receivers. Throw in Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb. But I'm not gonna bag it straight. Those are my 4 picks for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check me out and follow me on Action Network. Just made a profile, 2-0 on my Thursday Night Football player props. Had Deontay Johnson going over and Nick Folk over 1.5 field goals made. So follow me on there. I'm always adding extra bets on Sunday morning. Last week I added Josh Downs to go over, Terry McLaurin to go over. Both of those hit. Also had Nico Collins going over. I like him this week. Thought about throwing him in this video. Not confident enough. These are my 4 picks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow me on Action Network. Follow me on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Let's have a weekend. Thanks, guys. Peace.